Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Community Development Committee meeting. The first item on our agenda is the matter of approval of the July 15th, 2024 CD meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Snyder. Are there any questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a conditional use permit, the matter of a conditional use request for a restaurant and bar located at 460 Cleveland Street. Attorney Brewer, would you like to start? Law Director?
I think normally if there's a proponent, they would speak on what they would want to apply for, and I can speak to any issues as far as the city's concerned.
Mr. Smith, would you like to begin?
Thank you, everyone. We've been here before. We've been through several different situations relative to this. This is a bar restaurant that Hubert Oliver, a lifetime resident of the city of Elyria, former NFL football player, his dream is to put this restaurant together. We've been before council before. We're approved contingent upon a variance from the zoning board. We're approved through planning commission for this, and at this point, we're asking for the approval through council, ratifying, I guess would be the right word, what has already been done. I think everyone's very well aware of what's going on with this. I know that there are residents and fellow business folks that are here relative to this as well. It's been a long and arduous trip for Mr. Oliver and his significant other, Rosalind Wade. If there are questions, we're happy to answer them, but I think we've been through an awful lot already at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any questions for Mr. Smith? For Mr. Oliver? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Wade, did you want to speak? Ms. Wade, if you'll give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Rosalind Wade. I live at 1424 Faxon Place in Elyria, Ohio. And I'm just here today to say that Hubert and I have been coming in here for the last year trying to get our business started at 460 Cleveland Street in Elyria. And we've been demonized by the neighborhood there, saying that we're this, we're that, and all we're trying to do is start our business. And this was supposed to be something that was happy for both of us, bringing some business to the community. But I see that they're saying that we shouldn't be there, and for what reason, I have no idea. All we want to do is for socializing, listening to good music, dancing, and having some good food for everyone. It's open to everyone, except for, we have an exception. The age limit would be 40. You have to be 40 years old to come into the establishment, because there's so much things that's going on now that we feel better if we had people closer to our age coming into our business. So all we were asking for is just give us a chance. You can't say that we're doing something wrong, and we haven't even opened the doors. We haven't even put up a flyer. We haven't put up a light fixture or anything. We've been held back for 1 whole year. And this is causing a strain on us, and not the community. And I've heard that the street, they ask us, they want to know what time we're going to open, what time we're going to close, what time. No one goes through all of that to open up a business. When you go purchase a home, no one can tell you where to purchase your home at. No one can tell you when to close your doors or when not to close your doors. And this has been something that's been going on with us. The parking is a problem. The noise would be a problem. There was a shooting down the street. The water ran in my basement. Those are personal problems. They're not problems that would occur with our business. It doesn't have anything to do with it. And at this time, all we want is a chance. And if you could give us a chance, then you could see for yourself that it would not be a problem. I ask you that because, and I feel as though, I'm just going to talk straight. This has nothing to do with the restaurant being open. It doesn't have nothing to do with parking. It doesn't have nothing to do with how much water you get in your basement. These are things that's been going on for a long time. This problem has to do with us, our color. That's what it has to do with. This is what we feel. Cuban and I feel. It's not about the parking, and everyone in here can come in here and they can say this, that, and other, but the main thing that we feel in our hearts is about us being black. That's all it's about. And if you can look past that, then you will see that we have no intentions. They never even got to know us. They never came in, asked our name. We had to come here in order for them to know who we were. And I'm going to just say this. Do not judge, or you will be judged. And this is in Matthew, because the judgment that you put on us is going to come back on you. And that's all I can say about this whole situation. We have been here, I don't know, for one whole year. And I don't know any other business that has had to go through the trials and tribulations that we have had to go through. So I would thank you for letting me take the time out to say what I have to say on that, and I'd appreciate it if you all would just give us a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. Mr. Sarah?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not on this committee, but I need to respond because early on when this started, we did have a meeting over there. There's been several conversations between myself and some of the residents, excuse me, and not once has Color River came into that equation. A bar, yes, because of some stuff that can be associated with it, and mostly it's been about the parking. You know, the residents down through there, they know that because of the lack of parking that is with that building, they're going to be parking in front of their houses and stuff like that, and we can't do anything about that. It's public property. That's a lot of the stuff that bothers them. I've heard comments that, you know, we're nothing different than a Smitty's or a Hazel's. The difference is that they have parking lots, you know, and it's not crowded and limited such as this building is, and that's just by the design. I do hope that they succeed. Whether they go here or someplace else doesn't make any difference. I have a lot of respect for Hubert, went to school with him. You know, I kind of followed him through a little bit of his football career, so it has nothing at all to do with that.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah. Ms. Davis?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not on this committee, but she made a statement that 40 years, so is this a private club now? Because that's a different light, because if you're not, it's not open to the public. She said 40 years or older to get in.
Director?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this matter. What's here before committee, and I'm not saying that's not a valid question, but what is before community development this evening is the matter of the conditional use permit for this business. I'm not saying that's not valid. I'm not saying that's not something to discuss, but the issue is the conditional use permit. And the reason that this business and this property was required under our codes, the city's codes, to apply and obtain a conditional use permit is because of the zoning does not permit this type of use at this location. So I'm hearing, as Mr. Sarah said, the comparisons to, say, to other similarly run establishments such as Smitty's, such as Hazel's. Those other entities have either obtained conditional use permits or the purpose is within the zoning and they didn't need to. So Assistant Law Director Brunig is here, and through the chair, if you're good with that, he is here to discuss what the requirements are and what the committee needs to, or what you should consider, what the law requires in order for the conditional use permit to be granted. Thank you.
If I may, I've neglected to say that this matter did pass the Board of Zoning Appeals on August 1st, 2024.
And Planning Commission is already
And,
given recommendation.
and Planning Commission has given the recommendation as well. Assistant Law Director Bruning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the Law Director stated, this is here before you on a conditional use permit request. That's because this is situated and the zoning inspector can, clear up any discrepancies that I might state. I'm speaking more on what your responsibilities are when you're looking at this. He can talk more specifically about the zoning code, should that be necessary. This is in a business neighborhood district. Business neighborhood districts cannot have restaurants of the contemplated type, restaurants and bars, without applying for a conditional use permit. It is not permitted as of right in a business neighborhood district. It would need to be zoned differently to be permitted as of right. Therefore, council has the opportunity to weigh in by issuing or denying a conditional use permit for the property. When you do that, you are supposed to take into consideration certain factors that are listed in the codified ordinances, okay? Planning Commission is supposed to do that as well. It appears that they have discussed those and come to a conclusion, but the code specifically contemplates that council, and by extension, the Community Development Committee that's recommending this to council, also gets to take into account those same conditions and discuss them and come to your own conclusions. You are the legislative authority. Planning Commission is not. Board of Zoning Appeals is not. Board of Zoning Appeals grant of a variance was a prerequisite to you being here tonight to hear this, but it is not the final say, nor are you. Full council will be. But what I would advise you to do as you are considering this is to go right along with 113503 of the codified ordinances, which specifies exactly what you are supposed to consider when coming to your determination of whether or not to issue a permit. And I want you also to keep in mind that just because you're supposed to consider these things does not mean that you can't consider other elements and require additional conditions and safeguards. The whole point of a conditional use permit, in my opinion, is to give council a large amount of control over what happens with a property that's not situated in an ideal zoning location for it. In other words, you can permit it, but you can permit it subject to the conditions that you feel, as the legislative authority, are appropriate for that specific location. That's the whole point of zoning. You determine where things go and if they are a good fit or not in that neighborhood. So, to approve a conditional use permit, the commission and council will consider if the proposed use will be properly located in relation to land use and street plans of the city. That arguably is exactly what Councilman Sarah was referring to when he had those previous discussions with the owners. So that is something that you as a group should consider and possibly discuss on the record, whether or not you feel that this is properly located in relation to the land use and street plans of the city. The proposed use is necessary to serve the community needs. The proposed use is adequately served by essential public facilities and services. The location, design, and operation of the proposed use at this specific location would not unduly discourage or interfere with surrounding uses and properties. And, so this is inclusive of all of these, the proposed use meets the specific development conditions as specified in the regulations for the district in which it is located. So, all of those are things that you should individually consider when casting your votes on these matters. And arguably, there are things that you should discuss on the record when you're considering these. And this, by the way, applies to all conditional use permits that come in front of you. These are becoming more common, and sometimes, I feel like they get glossed over a little bit, and they probably warrant a more robust discussion at some level. But that's up to you. This is my reading of our code, and it is up to you how you take that information. I'm happy to answer any questions from a legal perspective that you have, but again, most of these require some deliberation on your part.
Mrs. Zerorka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not on this committee, so I won't be voting on the committee report, but I just do want to say a couple things. I know Mr. Oliver. I have a lot of respect for him. I've been around for a very long time, and I can categorically say that decisions are made on the facts, not on anything else. And I completely support what Mr. Sarah said in his remarks. We're looking at what the rule is and whether we need to, tweak that rule or not, whether we allow for a change in that rule. But our job each and every time on these conditional uses is to see what's the best use following the guidelines of our ordinances. And if we can sort of color outside those lines at times, then maybe we can do that. But this does not have anything to do with determining the ownership or who will be there. I too had the question, but that my colleague Mrs. Davis asked about the 40 years and over, but I understand that's not relevant to our discussion, but I echo Mr. Sarah's sentiments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zerorka. Mr. Oswald.
Just, if I may, just because I kind of want to respond to something Mrs. Sawerka said there, that maybe that specific question isn't relevant to this discussion, but other questions that revolve around the hours of operation might be relevant, the expected traffic at given times, again, because you're looking at the use of a specific property in relation to that surrounding neighborhood. Maybe not who's going to be there, but what quantity of people are going to be there at what specific hours and what kind of traffic that would generate. Those are questions that are in line with the zoning inquiry. So, just wanted to put that out there because it's similar to the one you were asking, and it has already come up in discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair. So when I get done, I'm hoping that we could have engineer's office, the building department's office, fire department, and police give their ideas on how they feel what that's going to impact in that area. But I know I'm a broken record because I started off by saying in my first meeting that the issue is going to be the parking. I never said anything about it being a bar, about a social club, or anything. And it's going to be an issue. We had an issue with Unplugged Brewery, and it never got solved. I don't want to jump into that same thing over there. Yes, I think they're great people, and I think they're going to do a good job, but it's not about that. It's about the law and our ordinances that we have right now. And the problem stands that we have a parking issue. And it's going to create issues on down the road for, like I've said, for the owners and for the city if we allow this to happen. There is emergency issues that we're going to have in case something happens there. There's going to be issues if somebody's parking out in a parking spot that was used by a homeowner in that spot, that even though it's not theirs, it's going to be an issue. There's a lot of things, and so I guess if I could get a feeling from the other departments, have them speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. I will ask Mr. Farkas if you will come up, because the issue has come up about the parking and you know the zoning. So can you enlighten us on that, please?
Madam Chair, thank you, through you. As the board's aware, this was referred to Planning Commission. It was tabled multiple times, ultimately resulting in a conditional approval pending Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. That case was heard on the 1st of the month, and all 3 requests were granted. I did provide a variance letter to the board listing the requirements. I can read it verbatim if you wish, because it addresses the number of parking spaces, it addresses the clearances between spaces, and it addresses the compact car parking only. Shall I?
Quickly, thank you.
The restaurant requires 1 spot for every 150 square feet of floor space. The proposed building is at 4,216, requiring 28 spaces. The applicant indicated they have come up with an additional 5 spaces and a couple spaces on the site. Those additional 5 spaces were to be located in the city right away. That was referred and approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Second, an aisle width of 15 is indicated between parking spaces 19 through 21. 22 feet shall be maintained. And the last one is, they indicated stall number 16 to be for compact cars only. Unfortunately, our zoning code does not address compact cars. It has a set stall depth of 19 feet, and unfortunately, they needed a variance and got it.
Thank you, Mr. Farkas. Are there any questions for Mr. Farkas? Thank you so much. Mrs. Zaworka?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Mr. Farkas, the compact car issue you just mentioned, so let's say there's spaces and they have to be marked compact car only. Who's responsible for policing that?
Madam Chair, through you to Mrs. Swarka, I would believe that would be the establishment's responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Farkas, what's the total attendance allowed in a building?
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Oswald, the proposal by the applicant is indicated to have 99 occupants, and the spaces provided, we need 28 minimum based on the square footage, but they can have up to 99 occupants.
Mr. Farkas, again, please, how many spaces does he need? 28?
Per our zoning code, they must have 28 based on the square footage of the building.
And he has now?
He has right now 21 are provided, and they've creatively come up with some additional spaces.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Mr. Snyder?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Farkas. Can you speak a little bit on conditional use permit, just a refresher, and to let some of the people in the audience know, does it stick with the property or does it stay with the applicant?
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Snyder, the conditional use is granted for the structure. I do believe there is an expiration date. If it ceases for more than a year, then it resets and they have to come back and start over.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Farkas?
Oh,
No, that's not exactly true.
Maybe I
Conditional
should
use
have asked
permits
you.
are personal to the applicant. So when we draft the ordinances around those conditional use permits, we provide them for the specific property and also to the individual applicant, or, you know, whether that's an LLC or an individual. Sometimes we include both of those things in case there's a change.
So if the owner were to, through you, Madam Chair, if the owner were to keep the building but not run the business, we would have to reapply for the conditional use?
Not necessarily. If she were to, you know, continue owning the building, it's still issued to them as the owner of the building.
Okay.
The question would be more of a transfer of ownership than it would that. But we try to safeguard that, and council has the ability to revisit that. There are provisions in the code that require it to automatically expire if that permit is attempted to be transferred without council approval.
Thank you.
Mr. Bruno, don't walk away. So Mr. Oswald brought up Unplugged Brewery and the issues that they have with their parking. We all know that we granted them a conditional use permit. They did not have the parking. They told us they would get that parking. I don't know that they have. So how is that being handled?
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a comparable situation, because I don't know, and you would know better than me, whether that involves conditional use permits or zoning as of right, because I think that was industrial or BAO, I think, or was it a rezoning? I don't recall. I don't know that that's apples to apples, and I don't necessarily know that that's going to help inform the conversation. I know why you're asking that question, but off the top of my head, I can't say that that would be a productive line of inquiry.
I guess my question is, never mind. Mrs. Zaworka, you had your hand up?
I was just going to say that I believe that the Unplugged Brewery was a different zoning category, so therefore it would have determined different number of parking spaces.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, yes, it is. So this is business neighborhood, that is business general. So there are different requirements for that, and there is no obligation on behalf of the owner to come back for conditional use permits. and get
Thank you.
additional council
Mr.
approval.
Snyder?
Through you, Madam Chair, so I just want to clarify, we have 21 established for sure parking spaces and 5 contingent are 5 that are in the air, like 5 TBDs? Is that what I'm understanding? For a
Maya?
total of 26 potentially?
Why don't you take this?
Madam Chair, through you, 21 confirmed, 2 that were generated adjacent to the building, making 23, and 5 proposed in the city right-of-way, totaling 28, if memory serves.
When you say, I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder, when you say 25 proposed, or however many, is that on street parking?
The applicant has indicated they have 5 additional spaces in the public right-of-way that are available to them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Farkas, what is a public right-of-way?
That is in the road, on the sidewalk, in the city property.
Okay. Hold on a second. Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess what I was trying to make a correlation between Unplugged and the issue here. We wanted a new business to succeed, so sometimes we overlook a few things, and then sometimes they don't do exactly what they were supposed to do, and they had been closed down for a few certain other things. But it's the idea that, you know what, if we loosen our belt, you know, sometimes we're going to be in trouble by giving way to some of these things. I mean, we still have that flexibility that we can make some of these changes, but some of these issues, I think, they're a little bit different, so.
Madam Chair, through you, to reference the Unplugged Brewery, their occupant load is 16.
Trust me, they have more than 16.
I agreed.
They have more than 16 any given Friday. And I am old enough to remember when Payless Shoes was in that building, when it was Pickway. And there were more than 25 cars in that parking lot. And somehow they managed. I'm just saying. Mr. Sarah, you had your hand up, sir?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify what they're talking about on that is along the side of the building on Belfield, partially into the sidewalk, on the public right-of-way, where you would see 4 or 5 cars parked along the edge of the street, but up onto the curb.
Is that legal? That might be an engineering question.
Madam Chair, I would defer to the engineering department for responses. They did comment at the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting on that topic.
Mr. Schneider, would you like to comment on that, please? Is that legal?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Right now, alongside the building, there is a no parking for about the first 100 feet off of Cleveland Street. There's a hill there. There's a lack of line of sight around the corner, so we do not prefer to have any parking there. In order to park in the tree lawn area, there is what's called the tree lawn or curb lawn parking committee. It consists of the engineer, police chief, and I believe the service director. That would be required to be approved through them in order to have tree lawn parking areas. And it's not that we don't have them throughout the city. I don't know the last time we've had one, but it's in our ordinances.
Thank you. Law Director Deary?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Schneider, so of those 5 that are listed, how many of those parking spaces of those 5 exist as of today?
0.
Okay, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the engineer, for Engineer Schneider? Thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone on the committee? We do have some, thank you, Mr. Brunig and Mr. Farkas. We do have some neighbors in the audience. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come up to the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record.
Doug Strickland, 115 Belfield Avenue. Thank you. I'll be the neighbor that shares the largest boundary with the side, with the proposed business. I've spoken about every meeting that we've had so far, along with the other neighbors that are in the area. So I'm just reiterating, we have a parking issue where I have to park in the other business across the street. at the used furniture place. We do the moving cars in and out of parking lots or driveways to get. So if we have 99 people parking, because, through the investigation, there's no business around here that's granted permission for them to use overflow parking around their business. We've already established this. So if we have 99 people, and even if you have 28 parking spots, I don't know where that parking is going to go, other than down. And not only do they park down there, then we have the foot traffic up and down, so then, we're not opening a Hazel's, we're not opening a Blue Sky. And then to address your question earlier about the club, they attempted to open a social club, but they don't have the infrastructure or the length in business. To apply to the Division of Liquor for a social club, there's a whole different number of requirements that they have to meet to open a social club, and they meet none of those parameters. So that's why they've applied for a D5. A D5 is an entertainment liquor permit. It allows them 2:30 in the morning, and it also allows them 7 days a week. So what else, and when we go from there, it also, like you were saying earlier about the conditional use permits, applied to the ownership. And so if their business model fails as 40 and over of the social club, they've already have the D5 liquor permit established to the location. There is nothing in the future that says our business model failed, so now we can rent to somebody else and allow them to operate a different liquor establishment in the same property, maybe not with the rules that they're establishing before they open. There's a lot of things to think about before we allow this right into the heart and soul. This is my second home I've owned in the St. Jude's network. This is the thoroughfare. We've got to add those parking spots along that parking line, especially in the wintertime. We've got all the buses that come into St. Jude's that come down Belfield. We've got all the parents that come down that road from Belfield. The negatives outweigh the positives for bringing this into the heart and soul of the family neighborhood that St. Jude's has always been. So, this is just basically reiterating what I've said at every meeting. I just don't think this fits. I think there's better uses for that. Because when it was the Payless, Payless was zoned differently. They had a maximum occupancy of 20 in that building, not 99. So now that we've changed this over, we have a maximum occupancy of 99. So there's a lot of things to, like, when the assistant law director said to make the debate robust. Because you're all guys are going to be on the hook for this when it goes bad. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing that's going to go on when and if it goes bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarah?
Madam Chair, I just want to point out that this property is adjoining that, and if I'm not mistaken, the only thing that divides that is a guardrail. It butts right up against the parking area there.
Thank you. Was there anyone else in the audience who wanted to speak? Come on up, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Holly Francis, and I live at 121 Belfield. And I just want to clarify, along with a few other people that have also made the statement, I have been part of a small group of people that have been trying to educate the people in the neighborhood as far as this establishment coming in. Many people didn't even know it was initially. But in my conversation with everybody, it was never, the main reason we have an issue with this establishment is the parking. And I want to make that perfectly clear. Never was race brought up. That's not who we are, I believe, in the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure they hear it from me, that was never our intent. In fact, at the one meeting I did speak at, it was I really would love for this to be your dream come true. But in our neighborhood, there just isn't the parking. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your indulgence on that. I appreciate it, Madam Chair. A couple things that I wanted to bring up. One is when it comes to a conditional use is an allowed use within this district. It might not be of as right. That's why you get to look at it and make a determination to it. But restaurants and bars are a conditional use within this area that are allowed by your code. We have provided Planning Commission and Zoning Board with information along this route and they have agreed with us that this is the right thing to do. You have a street that has various businesses up and down the street. Belfield is not owned by 120 Belfield or 100 Belfield. Belfield is owned by the city. And when it comes to parking requirements, I brought this up before, often are based upon the Christmas idea of a church, where a church needs to have so many parking spots because they're going to have so many on Christmas Day. There will be times when there's overflow parking, and that's why we went to the zoning board. And the zoning board allowed our variance for parking. I heard parking a couple times from folks and from Mr. Oswald as well, that parking is considered an issue. That's why zoning board looked at all the situation. They compared it in certain places to the city of Lakewood, where if you've been to Lakewood, sometimes it's hard to find a parking spot when you're going to a restaurant there. We're going to have some times when it's hard to find a parking spot. We also have a business that's going to be open to the public, and I would say that Rosalind is not suggesting that they're going to limit their people to 40 because folks are going to come and bring their children and everyone else to this place in the afternoons and things like that when they're open. But you also look at the property. Mr. Brunig mentioned 1135.03 in particular, the property located in an area and related to the land use. The land use is business. The land use where this property is business, everybody. We can't forget that. Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you, I get a little. That's all right, go ahead. We've had plenty of talks about this, but it is business. And this is a property that they bought. It's there, it was before it was the shoe place, it was a predatory lender. How much better of a land use is this, a restaurant over a predatory lender on this location? And again, I would reiterate the fact that Planning Commission has approved this, the Zoning Board has now approved this, and we look forward to a recommendation from your committee approving this to the full council members. Thank you for the additional time.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. The one question that we were told to consider was, will this impact the neighborhood? And I was wondering if I could hear from Chief Pelko on the police department, if they feel that this establishment with just the few issues of parking, if that would even impact the neighborhood.
Good evening. Yes, I do think it'll impact the neighborhood. We already field a ton of complaints about parking in the St. Jude area, and I think this will have an effect on that.
Thank you, Chief Pelko. Are there any other comments, questions? Mr. Brunig?
Sorry, just one more thing, because Mr. Smith's comments kind of reminded me. And I touched on this before, but just to reiterate, conditional use permits are conditional. You can put additional safeguards beyond what the code specifies here if you feel that would be appropriate in a given situation. That's not done very often, but the code specifically says that. You have the ability to tailor this a little bit more. And I just wanted to bring that provision of the code to your attention as you say you're about to read the committee report, which I would assume is a standard, we approve this conditional use permit for this area, which is fine if you want to do that, but if you want to add additional safeguards to it, you also have that option.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Are there any other questions and/or comments? Seeing none, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a request for a conditional use permit to operate a restaurant at 460 Cleveland Street. Note, this matter was approved by Planning Commission on May 7th, 2024, subject to the granting of a variance to approve a reduced number of parking spaces. Note, the variance for number of parking spaces was approved by the Board of Zoning Appeal on August 1st, 2024. And this is an ordinance authorizing the said conditional use request on condition of granting of said variance. Excuse me 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me rephrase that. This is an ordinance authorizing the said conditional use request. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved to get it on the floor.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Schneider and second by Mr. Oswald. Are there any questions or discussions?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails. No minority report. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a rezoning request for property located at 218 Prospect from business neighborhood to light industrial. This was referred by the Black River Commercial Storage. Is there anyone to speak on that? If you come to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Greg Smink, owner of Smink Electric. I live at 152 Pinewood. The property is located at 215 Winkles of Smink Electric, and Prospect is the dead part of Prospect that the city gave to Ridge Tool. I have a legal variance to get around their entrance, and that's how I've been bringing my employees in. And I want to use the property back there to install these storage units.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Schneider.
Through you, Madam Chair, just looking at the plans, I'm assuming these are like commercial contractor storage warehouses? Is that what I kind of thought it was when I looked at the plans?
They'll have to have a bathroom in them and heated storage.
So it's different than like the mini storage around the corner? It's
Yes,
like
it's going to be heated.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Zaworka?
Thank you. I'm not on this committee, but thank you, Madam Chair. So your property, you have an easement that was allowed when Ridge Tool put the driveway in.
Correct.
So this is going to be behind your home and your business to the side? Do we have a map? Thank
We
you.
just pulled this, okay. So this is.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, this is Smink Electric.
Everything around me is
The property we're talking
zone
about.
heavy
They
industry,
moved the driveway.
but my one lot.
Okay. Based on the picture, I just was concerned that it wasn't going to, make sure it wasn't going to hinder the traffic in and out of Ridge Tool, because I know that they're using that as their main driveway, so,
I don't see how it would. I don't see how it would.
okay.
For this type of
That was my only
application.
concern,
But-
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from anyone on the committee or on the panel? Thank you.
Okay.
Seeing none. Mrs. Zaworka?
Through you, Madam Chair, is Ridge Tool aware of this proposal? Is Ridge Tool aware of this proposal?
They did receive a courtesy letter according to the clerk's office. So seeing nothing else, I will read the,
And just a reminder, this will go to public hearing. It'll be published, and they will receive notice of it then.
Thank you. Thank you. So seeing nothing else, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a request to rezone one parcel on Prospect Street to 218 Prospect Street from business neighborhood to light industrial district. Note, the matter was approved by Planning Commission on August 1st, 2024 with no conditions. And this is an ordinance authorizing the said rezoning request. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Schneider, second by Mr. Oswald.
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That is all to come before community development. I would ask Mr. Tolet to call finance to order, please.
At this time, I'll call finance to order.
The first item on the agenda is the matter of the approval of the July 15th, 2024 joint meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
It was moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the matter of the fiscal year 2025 CDBG Action Plan 2025 through 2029 Consolidated Plan Analysis of Implements to Fair Housing Choice and Slum and Blighted Certification. And this is a notice of a public hearing. The notice was given, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Monday, August 12, 2024, in the Elyria City Council Chambers, Elyria City Hall, 131 Court Street, Elyria, Ohio, at 6:00 p.m. concerning the city's fiscal year 2025 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan 2025 through 2029 Consolidated Plan, Analysis of Implements to Fair Housing Choice and Slum and Blighted Recertification. Director Scott.
Through you, tonight is the first of 3 public hearings, so we're starting our annual CDBG season. This year, as a reminder, we do have to update our 5-year plan. This is a requirement with HUD. The 2025 CDBG Annual Action Plan will be a part of the 5-year plan. It'll serve as year 1. We're also required to update our analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, as well as we are looking at recertifying our downtown slum and blight area. And by doing this, it'll allow us to continue to spend CDBG funding if needed in the downtown. So just to go over a couple of things, for budgeting purposes this year for our annual action plan, we're going to estimate about $750,000. We will hold a second public hearing September 30th. At that time, we'll do a PowerPoint presentation most likely that will summarize the draft consolidated plan along with the results of the AI, the slum and blight recertification, as well as present to you all the funding requests that we received for the 2025 program year. In October, we will have a third public hearing. At that point in time, we'll do the annual, budget and request that you develop a draft budget that will go out for public comment for a minimum of 30 days. This does need to be complete by the end of the year. The plan is due to HUD by January 15th unless we are instructed otherwise. You are more than welcome to contact our department, if you have any questions on potential activities that we may or may not be able to fund. Just to give you an overview, the city received its 2024 allocation from HUD. That plan was submitted. Just so you are aware, we have not received our grant agreement from HUD to date. We are anticipating it any day now. So to date, we have expended 21% in administration, 33% in housing rehab, 20% in code enforcement, and 67% in public service activities. This also includes current encumbrances. Also to let you know that we completed our 2023 CAPER. This is our annual report to HUD. It did come back that the city is in compliance with all of the regulations We were under our 20% cap for admin, we were under our 15% cap for public service activities, and we did meet the 70% or higher LMI benefit with those funds. The funding requests are going to be available starting August, I believe it's 19th. Let me double check that here. Yeah. Yes, August 19th, they will be available online. And we're going to stop accepting those funding requests September 16th at noon. So that will be from, any city departments or from nonprofits that are looking to apply. I am available for any additional questions or concerns.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Scott? Thank you, Ms. Scott. Yes.
Oh, sorry, through you, one more thing. We are still conducting surveys, so citizen participation is a big part of this plan that HUD really does look at and monitor. So we do have information on the website as well on Facebook about, completing one of these surveys, either with a QR code. We also have hard copies available. We also did work with local businesses that provided either gift baskets or gift cards as raffle prizes to encourage people to take these. So we do have flyers in the back, and I would like to also thank all these businesses that supported this effort.
Thank you. Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Any opponents? Any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown facade improvement program application for 304th Street. Community Development Manager, Ms. Mona.
Thank you. This application, as you stated, is for the downtown facade improvement application. This is at 304th Street on the corner there, and it is a grant that will be used to remove and replace 25 new windows throughout the entire exterior of the building. That's on the first floor, the second floor, and the attached house. The total project cost is $20,000, and the applicant would be eligible for a $10,000 reimbursement. The Elyria Economic Development Committee met, and they did approve this application.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Mona? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a downtown facade, thank you, I'm sorry, facade improvement program application for 304th Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee on June 3rd, 2024. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Snyder, second by Mr. Mrs. Zerwak, question?
Under discussion, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Is this in the historic district? Are they aware of, okay, thank you. It's been answered. Question's been answered. Thank you.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Zerwak. That was my question as well. I was going to ask that. Thank you.
So it was moved and properly second. Are there any other questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
On behalf of Finance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tolet, I forgot about you. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown facade improvement program application for 460 Cleveland Street. Ms. Mona.
Yes, this applicant applied for a facade program to replace the brick brick washing, painting, replacement of windows and doors. The grant provides for a maximum reimbursement of $10,000. The total project cost is $86,741. The location was not in the downtown boundary area, and the EEDC did meet, and they agreed, they approved a waiver to that requirement, and they also voted to approve the application.
Thank you. And Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. So this is the corner building, Hubert Oliver's. Okay. So we denied their conditional use. It still has to go to full council, correct? That's done there. So do they still move ahead with this?
The law director can answer your question, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Madam Chair. So first, no, since there are no sponsors from the committee, this matter, matter of the conditional use will not go to council, full council. Second, Ms. Elmavayed and I did speak about this agenda item before the meeting and just the possibility as far as whether the property would still be eligible for the program. They are still property owners that are still responsible for the maintenance and the upkeep of their building. And we decided that should they be eligible on all other fronts and the EEDC still would, if they're still in approval, otherwise, that the conditional use would not have a bearing on their eligibility for the program.
Okay.
Mrs. Zawarka?
Thank you. So if, let's say we table this request, or we hold it in abeyance until there's a decision made. Well, there won't be a decision made because we've denied it. Is the property owner going to go through with these improvements? Or, I guess my concern is, it's been denied, the property owner doesn't go through with the improvements, that's $10,000 that somebody else, because we had a limited amount, right? What was, I can't remember what.
In committee, they have to put money into it as well. It's a reimbursement.
But didn't we, through the chair, didn't we set a maximum of what, wasn't it a maximum of like $50,000 for the facade improvements?
I believe.
For the facade is, it's, a maximum is $10,000. However, as you stated, is a reimbursement so that if the applicant doesn't end up doing the project, they won't get the $10,000 budget. And we have had a couple applications in the past that they didn't end up doing their project and the time frame kind of expired. So there is that, but as far as having a limited amount available for the economic development projects, I'm not aware of those limitations. Perhaps the finance director would.
Through the chair, that's the crux of my question. I thought when we discussed and we went forward with the facade improvements, we set a ceiling amount of how much we were going to spend. Does anybody recall that? Right, like what our maximum, I don't want to, if this is going to, we're sort of allocating 10,000 here, and if there's somebody in the next, application that's ready to go, we're holding off until they've decided.
Mr. Farrell? Mr. Farrell, would you know what the max amount is?
How much we appropriate?
How much we appropriated for that?
And it's in economic development. I don't know what the amount is, but I can go look.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, if there's other projects that would allow for money to be reappropriated to a different line item, we could do that.
Through you, Madam Chair. Ms. Elmavayed, what is the time limit they have to complete the project upon being approved?
It's a year.
It's a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Talat, did you have?
Yes. Do you want to review the other ones and then come back to this at the end while Mr. Farrell verifies the question at hand? Would that be possible?
So the question is, how much is left in the downtown facade?
Yes.
Appropriation.
Correct. Is that
I
okay?
can do that, but also, there's other line items in those operating and maintenance accounts that could
Correct.
possibly be
Switch back and forth.
transferred to the facade
That's a
improvement.
that's a great point.
Or the possibility could exist where we could appropriate additional funds out of the 2016 half% income tax fund. But Ted may have an opinion on that, so. Or, I mean, as a committee, but
Let me ask a hypothetical question. Can we table this until a later date, or can we not pass it, and then they would have to reapply? Does either one of those work?
Preferably for just to reduce the inconvenience to the applicant and whatnot, if we could table it, that would be better than having them go through the whole process again. That would be my preference.
I'm okay with tabling. Mr. Sear, you had your hand up, sir.
Through you, Madam Chair, you know, I was involved on the committee when we did approve this. Same thought came to my mind at that time, but I would be in favor of going ahead and moving this forward for a couple of different reasons. One, if they do decide to fix the building up, we end up with a much better building in that area. And two, I don't know if they have any other avenues to come back and resurrect this plan, but it would show that, you know, this other part was all about parking, and we have no problem helping them fix up a building.
I agree with that.
Mr. Snyder?
Through you, Madam Chair. So worst case is if we approve it, the $10,000 is set aside for a 12-month period, correct, Ms. Amabayed? I don't think I said that right. I should have just said Mona.
Typically, we will open up the purchase order after they request the reimbursement. So we don't even set it aside until they give us all of their receipts and make sure they have all of their documentation in order. So if it takes them a year to do the project, that's when we would set aside the funding for that. But generally speaking, when we have applications that are coming in, we do make sure these are the ones that have already been approved, and we do have to allocate, that we don't have a purchase order for them at that particular moment in time, but we do take all of the applications that we have pending when we make sure there's enough funds in there.
Law Director Deary?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just some food for thought for the committee members. I'm just pointing it out there just for something for you all to consider, that this is the Downtown Facade Improvement Program. I would note that the Elyria Economic Development Committee did waive the downtown boundary area requirement, but I just do want to put that out there as something to consider. That may not be a deal breaker for all of you. But this is a property that is outside the downtown area, and it is the downtown facade improvement area. It is, I mean, clearly that was weighed, and the EEDC did weigh it all out and decided in favor of waiving that requirement, but I just did want to make note of that for you all as well. Something to consider.
Thank you. Mrs. Zerorka?
Thank you. I don't have a problem with the location, the geography of it. It's fine for me on Cleveland Street. Anybody that wants to approve their building, and we've got these dollars. I just thought that if the business is going to take a step back and decide what their next steps are, I didn't want the $10,000 to be held when there's another applicant waiting, but I'm fine either way, whether we table it or whether we just approve it, whether they take action or not. I think we approve it. Whether they take action or not is up to them, and we approve these other ones that are here tonight.
I am in favor of approving it. The money's held for 12 months. If somebody else applies, we'll have money in reserve or whatever.
I agree.
You agree? Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. I think, yes, if we approve the money, it's not like we're taking it out of the bank. She said if it's a year, then there's still an opportunity for somebody else to use that 10,000 or whatever that amount be. So I think, in my point of view, I think maybe we could just approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions and/or comments? Great. I'm going to read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the downtown facade improvement program application for 460 Cleveland Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee. Can I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Snyder. Any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get a motion for finance?
So move.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown facade improvement program application for 374 Broad Street. Ms. Mona.
This applicant is applying to prep the wall for a mural that will later be completed by the Leary Community Partnership. It includes power washing, replacing damaged brick, and that sort of thing. This provides another $10,000 reimbursement. The total project cost is $21,500. The EEDC voted to approve the application.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the Before I Die wall. You guys all know what that is? It's the Before I Die wall.
That one is the 354 Broad Street, but it's the one that is facing the Before I Die wall,
Okay.
and so they're going to put a mural on both sides, two different murals, but yeah, it's part of a larger project that the Leary Community Partnership is putting on.
And aren't they doing this in cooperation with the Urban League?
Yes, that is the Before I Die wall they're doing in partnership with, they came up with the design together. This funding for both walls is not to fund the mural, it's just to prep the wall for the mural.
Thanks.
For the tuck pointing, they talked about in the EDC. Correct.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a downtown facade improvement program application for 374 Broad Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee. Can I get a motion from Community Development, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Snyder. Any other discussion?
Question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get a motion for finance?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown historic redevelopment grant program application for 341 Broad Street. Ms. Mona.
This is an application for a new roof at the old PNC building. The applicant is Dan Martin. The maximum reimbursement is $50,000. The applicant is required to match half of that. His project cost is a total of $92,990. So the eligible reimbursement would be $46,495. The EEDC did vote to approve this application.
Are there any questions? Mrs. Zaworka?
Thank you, through the chair. Is this the old ballroom dancing studio up there?
No, this is the PNC Bank.
Yeah, the old PNC Bank.
And it was damaged when they took down Shane. It was National City back in the day?
EST.
Isn't it the Brown, it's the Brown building, right?
No, it's the Drake.
It's the bank?
Yes. And it was damaged when they took down Shane.
I believe the 337, maybe that's the old ballroom one. That is also on the agenda for consideration. And I believe that is the one that was damaged by the Shane demolition. 341 Broad Street is just old and it needs a new roof. Any
other questions? I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a downtown historic redevelopment grant program application for 341 Broad Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee. Can I get a motion from Community Development, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Schneider. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from Finance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown historic redevelopment grant program application for 337 Broad Street. Ms. Mona.
This applicant is Dan Martin, and it is the one that is next to the old PNC building, 341 Broad Street. This is also the installation of a new roof that the applicant indicated was damaged by a chimney from the Shane Building demolition. The applicant did receive an insurance reimbursement from this in the amount of $124,688. However, the total project cost is $164,804, so there is a gap between the two amounts there for a total of, the gap is about $40,000. This was tabled at the last EEDC meeting so that we could have a conversation with the law department on it. And they met this evening and voted to approve the application for 50% of the gap between the insurance amount and the total project costs. So that would be a grant of $20,058, and the applicant would be required to put the $20,058 out of pocket in addition to the $124,688 that the insurance agreed to reimburse for that.
Could I expand
Mr.
on
Tolet.
Excuse me, we tabled it originally. We wanted to get a legal opinion on it because there's pending litigation on the Shane Building. We wanted to make sure that we didn't affect ourselves or the potential claimants. We got the legal ruling on it. He'll receive 124. There's a gap, though, of roughly $80,000, of $40,000 that's uncovered. We thought it would be best to cover half of that, leaving us both funding half of the gap. So that's where that number came up. We thought that was fair.
Ms. Deary?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair. It is a matching incentive fund, so he would have to, so based upon what his remaining costs would be, we would be matching that anyways, is that correct?
Yes.
So,
This was weird, though. I shouldn't use that term.
it's unique.
It's a unique situation because there's an insurance claim involved.
Yes, his insurance.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Madam Chair. So looking at the pictures probably doesn't do it justice on how bad it is. So I'm so for having this done and getting it taken care of because I know this was the stumbling block that the insurance and legality and all that. So I'm glad this is moving forward. Does he have a time frame when something like that might happen?
Well, I believe for the grant, he has, for that one, I believe it's 2 years to complete the project. He didn't say whether or not, but I believe from what he said, he's tired of getting all the water out of the basement of so I'm assuming, and with the insurance check, he probably has a tighter time frame, I would think so, to complete that project.
Mrs. Awarka?
Thank you. Just so, could someone clarify, the total cost is 164. He got a check for 124. Right?
Leaves a gap of 40
And we're going to offer half of that, half.
of the gap.
Of the gap.
Of the gap. And is the Is the applicant aware of that?
He knew that that was up for discussion, yes.
Okay.
He did come in person, and
Okay,
he
thank
knew
you.
that we were reviewing it with our legal
I
department.
agree with Mr. Oswald. We need to, he need to get it fixed. We don't want to lose another downtown building.
Law Director Deary?
Thank you. Just for clarification through the chairs, one of the things that was discussed was that the application for this program needed to be evaluated, and approval. It was completely separate and apart from, this has nothing to do with any potential litigation, any current litigation. It needed to be totally evaluated on a standalone basis. The one thing that did make it unique was that obviously the applicant had received an insurance check, and that should be considered, since that money should be utilized towards the repair of the building, and that any reimbursement that the program should consider would be, again, that gap above and beyond what the insurance proceeds would be.
Any other questions and/or comments?
Mr. Sarah, did you have a question?
For you, I was just going to make the comment that in the meeting, he did allude to additional damage. They had it patched a couple different times. They're not holding, so he wants to get this done relatively quick.
Yes.
Was my understanding.
Yes. Any other questions and/or comments? I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the Downtown Historic Redevelopment Grant Program application for 337 Broad Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee. Can I get a motion from Community Development, please?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, second by Mr. Snyder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get a motion for finance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The last item on our agenda is the matter of a downtown facade. Okay, I'm sorry. The last item on the agenda is the matter of a downtown facade improvement program application for 354 Broad Street. Ms. Mona.
All right, this is the last one, I promise. We're back to the Downtown Facade Improvement Program. We spoke a little bit about this earlier. It is the Before I Die wall that is next to the annex building, so they both have murals on there. This is for wall prepping. Again, ECP will be doing a mural there after the wall is prepped. It's part of their downtown vibrancy plan. I believe they're doing landscaping in there, seating areas. So that was the idea behind it. This is a $10,000 maximum grant. However, the total project cost is $6,507. So the applicant would, if approved, would be reimbursed $3,254. The EEDC did meet on this application, and they agreed to approve it.
Are there any questions for Ms. Mona? Mr. Snyder?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Mona, just, I know it's a different topic, but we're covering this for a new mural to go up, correct? Is that the end game,
Correct.
the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of downtown facade improvement program application for 354 Broad Street, and this is an ordinance authorizing the said application. This was approved by the EEDC committee. Can I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Oswald, seconded by Mr. Snyder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get a motion for finance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
There is nothing else to come before the joint committee. I will entertain a motion to adjourn community development.
Second.
Moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you and good night, everyone.
As soon as Mrs. Mitchell gets out of my chair, I'll go right into finance. Oh, shoot. Now I'm moving. Oh, we have a solid light. Okay, I will call finance to order at this time. First item on the agenda is the approval of the June 10th, 2024 finance meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question?
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the matter of increasing the hourly rate for the position of security bailiff MC as requested by Judge Gary Bennett. Did everyone have a chance to review the information in your packets the last few days? And are there any questions? Yes.
This, through the chair, is this a part-time job, part-time bailiff? An
Yes, correct.
additional-
It's part-time.
An additional, this is just to increase the current part-time bailiff that's in Muni Court?
Correct. Apparently, they're having a hard time filling a vacancy, and they determined that the county and other municipalities are paying $25 an hour or more, so this will not affect the general fund. It's one of their special funds, the Muni Court Security Fund, so.
It'll come out of their fund. Okay.
Thank you.
Through Mr. Chair, Mr. Plesky, do you, or if you don't, Mr. Farrell, know when the last time was that there was an increase to this position?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Maybe John does.
I don't know for sure, but the part-timers were increased in January.
Yeah, you know, now that I
rest
think back on it, because they have their own exhibit, and I think they, when the non-bargaining received their increase, the Muni Court got the same increase, and they included their part-timers, so probably last year, be my guess.
Ms. Sawerka?
Through the chair, I'm familiar with bailiffs in other communities, and I would say that this is probably right at the right sweet spot of where they are, so.
Are there any additional questions? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the salaries for Elyria Municipal Court security bailiffs. An ordinance authorizing the said salary changes for said part-time muni court positions and amending the salary ordinance to reflect these changes. This has been requested as an emergency. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the matter of delinquent utility accounts to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor. Director Connor.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is a list of about 6 or 7 multi-unit accounts that the resolution board reviewed on August 2nd, and we're referring those as delinquent, ready to go to property tax lien.
Are there any questions? Mr. Schneider?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Connor. On these, with them being multifamily, if I recall, we don't do shut-offs if the tenants, is that true in this case as well?
That is true.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Any additional questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of inactive delinquent public utility accounts. A resolution authorizing the said delinquent accounts to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor's Office as per the attached list. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, the matter of boarding up, securing, and/or demo charges to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor. Mr. Farkas.
Mr. Chair, through you, I have two. The first is 520 Carroll Lane for a board-up initiated by Elyria Police Department for $1,252.83. The second is 323 18th Street for asbestos abatement, removal, and demolition of a home for $11,700.
Are the, Mr. Schneider.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Farkas, on the board up at 520 Carroll Lane, I believe that property is still boarded. It's the garage, correct?
To my knowledge, yes, it is, Mr. Chair, through you.
Okay, there's no time frame on how long they have to unboard that? Just curious.
Mr. Chair, through you, so long as a property is secured and does not become a nuisance.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of placing liens on the attached list of properties for boarding up and securing of those properties and demolition charges. A resolution authorizing the said charges to be certified as liens to the Lorraine County Auditor's Office as per attached. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, please use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 5, the matter of city property no longer suitable for use and to be disposed of. Chief Pronesti.
Good evening. We have, I guess I can lump
5 and 6 together, if that's, they're both
Yes,
the same.
please.
Okay. So we have some equipment that is no longer of use to us. One of them is a prop to teach water safety. It doesn't work anymore. We're just doing a lot of house cleaning, so we kind of put those together. Another one is a cap for a pickup truck that we no longer have a need for. So it's just miscellaneous city equipment that we're going to just put on gov deals. And then the big one is number 6. So we have a ladder truck that is really the only one left of its kind. It's 1938 American LaFrance ladder truck. And it's near and dear to me because the history of it, and I wanted to find it a home. So the Western Reserve Fire Buffs Association, they run, if you go down to Progressive Field, right across the street from Progressive Field is a fire museum. And they wanted, the group that runs this museum expressed some interest in having this fire truck. The head of their association will store it. It'll keep the Illyria designation. And to me, it's going to a good home. So we would be donating it. And really, we need the room, especially if we do vacate. Right now, it's at East Broad Street. And if we do vacate that property, we need to find a home for that truck. And I approve of this. This is going to, listen, if this was just anything or anybody, I would be hesitant to give them this piece of equipment, but it's the right place. They will store it, they will show it off, they will, that's what they do.
I'm
Antique fire
curious.
equipment.
I have a question. How do we get it there?
We're going to probably end up having to tow it.
Okay. Mrs. Sawerka.
Thank you, through the chair. I just have a question on, when was Bobby the Boat purchased? Because that looks so unfamiliar to me. I don't remember it at all.
Through you, sorry, I can remember when I paid for it, but I don't remember when it was. But it was during my 39-year career, but the 1938 truck was not, I didn't. That's probably the only asset on the books that I didn't buy.
Bobby the Boat, at least 20, 25 years.
Okay. And through the chair, I will say that the 38 La France has sentimental value to me as well, and I am glad it's going somewhere, because I knew someone who drove the tiller on the back of it one day through a parade. So I'm glad it's going somewhere to be preserved, because the lettering on that truck is real 14-karat gold. So it really does need to go to a museum.
Yep.
Mr. Sarah?
For you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. So if we're donating this, the towing would be on them?
I really haven't talked, the gentleman I spoke to that runs it, his name is Mr. Ken Ripka. We discussed how we were going to get it there, and that we kind of left it at that. We don't really know for sure. I guess it could be on us. I can approach him and ask him, but it's so big at the time, we were still investigating how to get it there.
Right.
So I really don't have a total answer for you on that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a very cheap ticket,
Through the chair, if I could interrupt through the chair, I think Sugar Ridge Towing would tow it for us.
Think so?
They told my mechanic they were going to come and look at it. I have to get with him to see if they did look at it. I told the safety director that I'd want to talk to Mr. Nowak myself to make sure. So I really don't have a firm answer for you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the committee?
Through
Mr.
you,
Schneider?
Mr. Chair, thanks for the image of Bobby the Boat on your memo. I found a little humor in that.
Yes, it's hard to explain.
All right, I'm going to read then the two committee reports separately. First one. We have considered the matter of finding the city has the following list of items which are unfit for municipal use and to be disposed of by the best means possible. Electric-powered ventilation blower, pneumatic air chisel, gas-powered ventilation fan, 6-foot truck cap, remote control toy boat, Bobby the Boat. Authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said property unfit for municipal use and to dispose of the best means possible in accordance with the law. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, I will read. We have considered the matter of finding the city has the following item to be disposed of by donating to the Western Reserve Fire Buffs Association of Northeast Ohio, a 1938 American LaFrance ladder truck. Authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said property unfit for municipal use and to be donated to the Fire Buffs Association of Northeast Ohio. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and properly seconded. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 7, the matter of city property, old generator, no longer suitable for municipal use and to be disposed of by selling on govdeals.com. Chief Pelko.
Yeah, so we recently purchased a new building generator for the police department. This generator was the original generator that was put on the building in 1998. We had to replace it because it was getting old. It's no longer suitable, and we would like to put it on GovDeals to dispose of it properly.
Just out of curiosity, the new generator, did it go into use this week?
It did go into use. We had a minor hiccup with some things not hooked up, but we got that taken care of, and
Awesome.
it's
All
working
right.
now.
Any questions for Chief Pelko? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of finding the city has the following police department item to be disposed of by selling on govdeals.com, a Kohler natural gas 100 kilowatt 220/480 three-phase generator with a Ford 460 V8 engine. Authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said property unfit for municipal use and to be sold on govdeals.com. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sarah, how long's it been since the Ford 460 engine
Been a couple of years.
has been made? I was going to say. Okay. Next item on the agenda, number 8, the matter of city property, old firearms, no longer suitable for municipal use and to be disposed of in a legal manner. Chief Pelko.
Yeah, so we have several firearms that we want to trade in and upgrade with new firearms. These are 8 UMP 40 caliber automatic rifles, 70 Benelli pump action 12-gauge shotguns, 17 Benelli semi-automatic 12-gauge shotguns, and 12 Colt 5.56 semi-auto rifles. We're going to trade these into an FFL and then upgrade to newer modern firearms. And we'd like permission to trade those in.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to say, Chief, I appreciate very much that you put in your referral that you're going to be trading them into a legal firearms dealer, because the alternative would probably give me hives. So I just wanted to say, that tickled me, but I definitely appreciate it.
Do you put them up for bid to different FFL dealers?
No, we deal with a company with all of our firearms, and that's the company we'll go with.
Okay, just curious. Mrs. Sawerka?
Through the chair, what's the average age of these weapons?
I think anywhere from 10 to 18 years. It should be on the spreadsheet here.
I don't know if I saw a year on them.
Yeah, so the automatic and
I see it.
the
I see it
UMPs and
now.
the Colts are 15 years old, and then the shotguns are 10 to 18 years old.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of finding the city has the following firearms to be disposed of by trading in and upgrade to newer rifles. 40 caliber automatic rifles. Is that a correct statement? Wouldn't that be semi-automatic rifles?
Yeah, there's 8 automatic rifles.
Okay,
There's 8 UMP 40 cal automatic rifles,
okay.
and then
70 Benelli pump action 12 gauge shotguns.
correct.
17 Benelli semi-auto 12 gauge shotguns.
12 Colt semi-automatic rifles.
5.56 semi-automatic rifles. And this would be authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said property unfit for municipal use and to be disposed of as allowed by law by trading into a legal firearms dealer. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion's been made, properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 10, the matter of a change order for 2023.
Skip number 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I skipped one. Number 9, the matter of city property 2012 Ford Fusion, no longer suitable for municipal use and to be disposed of by best means possible. Chief Palco.
Yes, again, we have a 2012 Ford Fusion in our fleet that we took to CMG, and the repairs were going to be more expensive to fix. And they said it was not worth put the money into the vehicle, so I would like to seek us to be able to sell it or get rid of it by any legal means possible. I believe we'll put it up on Gov Deals.
Mr. Snyder?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Chief Palco, are you planning on purchasing another property in replacement of this in the future, or do you not really have a use?
No, we don't have a use, no, we're not, we don't need to replace it right now. It's one of our unmarked vehicles, and we have enough vehicles right now.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the committee? If not, I will read the committee report. We have considered the matter of finding the city has the following police department vehicle that is unfit for municipal use and to be disposed of, a 2012 Ford Fusion, authorizing the Safety Service Director to declare said vehicle unfit for municipal use and to be disposed of by the best means possible in accordance with the law. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now to number 10, the matter of a change order for 2023 OPWC project, Abbey Road South. Engineer Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the construction of the Abbey Road South, there was some more repair that needed to be done to the roadway. The good news is we had enough money in the Ohio Public Works grants as well as our share to cover the costs that we anticipated. So the total change order would be $47,433.65, of which Ohio Public Works would pay for 75%, city would be on the hook for only 25%. So the city's share would be around $11,858.
Director Pileski, are you good with this change order? Any issues on your behalf?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I'm okay.
Okay. Does this need to be an emergency?
Yes, we prefer because we need to
Okay.
get the contractor paid. and close
Mr.
the-
Schneider?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Engineer Schneider, this is just for the part of South Abbey that was already done, correct? You're doing the northern half of South Abbey soon too, right?
Yes, this is for the part of Abbey Road South from Chestnut Ridge up to University, and then this year we'll be doing from University up to East Broad Street.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the report. We have considered the matter of change order number 1 for the Abbey Road South OPWC resurfacing project and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into the said change order. Change order amount is an 18% increase. OPWC 23,604.95, city is 7868.32. Emergency clause does apply.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The numbers for the, you just read there on the side are incorrect. I noticed this earlier when I was looking at this. The Ohio Public Works portion would be $35,575.24, and the city's is $11,858.41, for a total of $47,433.65.
Can you say the final number again, 47,000?
The final number is correct on the referral, $47,433.65. It's the portion to the right of it where the 18% is incorrect. 18%
I'll see that,
is correct, but not the numbers to the right.
the numbers were extrapolated incorrectly. Yeah, it's attached.
Right, but those numbers are incorrect.
They are incorrect.
Do we have the correct numbers in the committee report?
No.
Okay, then, yeah, then we need to have correct numbers in the committee report.
Just 1 minute. Vic did the math wrong on this. Okay. The math has been corrected in the ordinance. Emergency clause does apply. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, use a voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 11, the matter of levying the final assessment for delinquent stormwater charges. Engineer Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every year, we have a number of stormwater fees that have not been paid. Typically, it's about a 6-month process before we start this process. So last year, I believe we levied, or we assessed to the property taxes around $180,000. This year, we're looking at $144,000, so the number's dropping, but not fast enough. But these are our stormwater utilities that people unfortunately have not paid.
Here's the list.
I've seen it. I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, please,
Yeah, if I-
Mrs. Sawerka.
So I just wondered if anybody's looked at the overlap, like how many were delinquent the year before that remained delinquent? That was question number one. And question number two is, are we checking any of these to see if the properties have sold? Because I don't know that they withhold any money to pay those, like water bills, do they?
Mr. Pileski?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Quite often, when a property is sold and I get assessment requests, and I always identify on that title search stormwater fees that have already been certified. Yeah, so we do, and they're paid directly by the title company to the Lorraine County Treasurer, and then we get it during the property tax settlement.
Okay, and through the chair. So I think it would be, at some point, it would be interesting just to see if it's the
Any of them
same-
that slid
Yeah,
through.
the same properties year after year, because that, to me, would then speak to the issue of either we need to re-educate the public on what this is about. It's been a long time since we had any kind of public information on stormwater. I don't know whether that would make a difference or not, but just my 2 cents.
Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chair, so when, like, and I don't know if I even know the answer to this, but usually when the escrow company looks for a release for a lien or a water hold, they're only looking at water and sewer charges. Does the water department know to tap on the delinquent storm? They don't do that, so it's just water and sewer charges that are what you had asked, but his is later. He was saying later when they get assessed, we get paid back, but at the time of sale, when the title company withholds an escrow, the stormwater is not included in that. Right. So I don't know if there's a way we can incorporate that with the water department.
Through the chair, the problem with it is that it's based on the parcel, not on the address. So that's part of the difficulty of tracking them down, because someone could have 2 parcel numbers, but only 1 address that's getting sold. But they have multiple stormwater bills because it's based on the parcel number.
Through you, Mr. Chair, but if I were to not pay my stormwater bill, transfer my property, and the new buyer just gets billed again, they don't go back to the old owner or the new owner for stormwater, correct? It'll attach to the property, but it could be the prior owner's responsibility.
But through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, it does follow the land, so just like any other, if you think about it, I mean, it operates as a lien. So, I mean, you're right, if it goes through a foreclosure, we're not going to see the money necessarily. If it's quick claimed, it's just going to sit there. But
what I'm saying is, like, if someone didn't pay their water, or if they paid their water and sewer in full with the city, but they were delinquent on their storm, the next owner doesn't know anything about that.
without a title search, I mean,
don't think
it would
It would
pop
have
up.
to be lien first, but if
Correct.
they didn't pay it,
Correct.
and
You're
they
right.
get hit with someone else's lien for $7.95 times 4 quarters,
Yes, that's correct,
it follows the wrong person, essentially, because,
in theory. But through, I'm not, and on the principle of the thing, you're correct. However, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about 40,
right.
for a residential property, you're right, when you're talking about commercial property, it could be a whole different ballgame. But I will say, and this is a whole other ball of wax, the escrows for water bills, and that would be a discussion for utilities, are very, very, very insufficient to cover delinquencies for that. But I will say that, and Mr. Pileski can speak to this better than I could, and we do see recoups on these stormwater assessments.
Are there any additional questions? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of delinquent stormwater utility charges. A resolution authorizing said delinquent charges to be certified to the Lorraine County Auditor's Office as per the attached list. Complete list is on file in the council clerk's office. Emergency clause is requested due to filing deadline. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item on the agenda is number 12, the matter of final assessments for replacement of private water service lines. This was originally passed by utilities on 8/7. Engineer Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a program that we utilize to help homeowners to upfront their costs for their replacement of their water service for their house if they have issues. Usually when you have a little galvanized line or even a plastic line, they can either clog or break. So the city, a number of years ago, stepped forward and council authorized this program. This past year, we only had one person who utilized the service. And we'd like to move forward with placing the costs onto their property.
Mrs. Sawerka?
Thank you. Through the chair, it would be helpful, Mr. Schneider, if the addresses were on here, then we would know who's getting these, if both on the sewer and the water. In the future, if we could have the addresses besides the parcel numbers on these lists.
We can. This form that we provide is actually the county's form that they utilize for assessing.
Gotcha.
But we can make that a point too. I can tell you this is 245 Oxford.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of final assessments to replace private water service lines, a resolution authorizing the levying of final assessments for the replacement of said service lines. Emergency clause is requested. Final list to be submitted to Lorraine County Auditor by September 9th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion's been made, properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is number 13, the matter of final assessments for replacement of private sewer service lines. Engineer Schneider, before you start, this was passed by utilities as well on 8/7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like the water service replacement, this is a sewer one. This is something that we offer to our residents as well. This is part of our long-term control plan to offer services to residents to help them improve laterals that might be leaking. Various reasons why these happen, whether they tree roots, breakage, all sorts of things. But the 12 before you were the ones to replace their laterals last year, and we'd like to move forward just like the water and start assessing for the improvements that they received. And do you have any questions?
Are there any questions on this from the committee? If not, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of final assessments to replace private sewer service lines, a resolution authorizing the levying of final assessments for the replacement of said service lines. Emergency clause is requested. Final list to be submitted to Lorraine County Auditor by September 9th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, number 14 is being tabled. You heard earlier today that one of our attorneys actually fell ill, so was not able to be here. I did want to clarify that it is listed as a discussion of the proposed TIF. That's not accurate. The agenda item is actually, as it was referred, please refer to the matter of Reeser Point Crossing update, and I'll make sure that it's on the agenda as such when we reassess and get our schedules together and bring that back in the near future.
Are there any questions for the law director regarding that? Final item on the agenda, number 15, the matter of amendments to the 2024 permanent appropriations. Director Pileski.
We do not have any tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful. Wonderful. If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor, use the voting sign aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, everyone. Thank you.